Hey bass anglers, today we're going to talk about 2 bait modifications that will help you catch more bass in the springtime. Everybody tells us about the standard baits that need to be used, but we don't quite get that mod tip that helps us really apply it better, and that's what we're going to talk about today. A lot of April bait choice videos are going to have a swim bait in their mix. And the modification that I want to talk about is how we're using a swim bait and what we're using for that swim bait. So it's more of a technique. I'm starting out using a reaction tackle swim jig head. And the reason I use that is because it's got some unique features that help me do something special with it. And that's something special with it is I'm getting it down on the rocks. I am actually walking and grinding that thing across the bottom. So let's talk about the reaction tackle jig. I'm popping it up on the screen here, and you'll see I had it even in the thumbnail image, the dimensions of this thing. But the way this thing is shaped lends itself to this technique in that the eye of the hook is up towards the top of the bait, and there's enough tungsten body below the head on the, I call it the body of the head, but the way the head is shaped, it's going to sit nicely on the bottom. The hook's going to be up, and that thing is going to grind nicely across the bottom. And here's our plan. We want to put a swim bait on it. We'll put, I've got, you can put a Kitech on it. I've got Strike King Rage Tail we can put on it. We can put the Sixth Sense Divine swim bait on it. It really doesn't matter which tail you put on it. I'll even put a 5-inch XPS grub on it, the old-fashioned single tail grub. But the point of this thing is to actually throw this out and swim this thing and grind it on the bottom. You want to wear the paint off of the bottom of that jig. And it's a 97% tungsten jig, so it's got good weight. I use the 1/4 ounce. It's got a super stout hook. And if you throw this in smallmouth waters, you're going to absolutely load the boat with giant fish in the springtime, in that April time period. This is pre-spawn up in the northern part of the country for them. And you'll just load the boat with big fish by slowly fishing this thing like you're fishing a crankbait or dragging a worm on the bottom. You want to make bottom contact, knock all the paint off the front of that jig, and you'll catch fish. You'll catch big fish. So that's definitely more juice probably than you're getting from your normal. Use a swim bait in the springtime. Use this jig head with a swim bait like the 3.2, 3.8, the 3-inch variety of tails, and actually grind that thing into the bottom in rocky areas adjacent to spawning areas, and you're going to load the boat with smallies. So that's one. The other mod is people are always telling you a cold water bait, springtime bait, April bait is the jerkbait, right? And I'm holding up here, oh shoot, I believe this is this is actually a Livingston lure one, but it's got the mega bass style body, and most jerkbaits today that are popular have that style body. That's not what I'm using. I'm using a variation. I know everybody's using a mega bass style jerkbait. I'm going back old school, and I'm going to use the Smithwick Rattlin' Rogue bait. I use a Smithwick Rattlin' Rogue, and I use this Rattlin' Rogue for a number of reasons, but one, because it's different than the mega bass body style. It's got the OG torpedo body style. You can see that with that, and it's got a significantly different rattle. It's a higher pitched rattle. There's more BBs in it, so it's got just a different rattle to it. It's super buoyant, so I can throw it into that shallow water where the isolated cover is. There might be some grass coming up finally. You might have wooden rocks in there, the brush pile scenario. Fish will feed up in the spring if you throw them a jerkbait. So we know a jerkbait works. I want to use something different. The last thing that I'll tell you about this animal is that because it's so buoyant, I like to control the depth, and I'll use some suspend dots, storm suspend dots on that bait as well to get that thing a couple of feet below the surface. And if you're interested in that, I've got a whole separate video that I'll put up at the end of this that will help you fish this Rattlin' Rogue and use that floating and suspending nature of it to its maximum extent. So check that video out too. Hope you found those tips helpful, getting outside the box on some of these regular baits that people are talking about in the springtime will help you catch more fish. Please like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time on the water.